Fair enough.
The whole middle section of this building is gone, erased from existence by something that passed directly through. Most likely culprit is the vehicle that rests a short distance away.
To action!
It's pretty much one of the final places I can try to find Tiber's love. Patina interior.
Sure enough.
Holograms.
Action! Here I come!
Embedded in the metal war is a complicated display. A number of charts seem to track positional variables. Unfortunately, the text is in language you've never seen before, so you can't discern anything more.
Here comes the Boredom Slayer!
Sign. A cloak of deepest purple ripples with a life of its own. Upon donning the cloak, the wearer is instantly overwhelmed by a blissful state of relaxation and contemplation, as if undergoing vigorous deep tissue massage. Many of a wearer has become so enamored of the cloak that they will jealously guard it with their lives. This particular model appears to have been made for a small child and does not fit you or your companions. Hmm.
Fine.
This device appears to be one of the engines that once drove this vehicle.
Absolutely.
Thingamajig. Passageway leading to the next segment of the vehicle is blocked by debris. This is as far as you'll be able to go.
All right.
Helling. This odd pair of gloves, made out of thick brown leather-like material, feels comfortable and springy. Half icosahedral metallic studs are mounted on the knuckles, very shiny and perfectly smooth. They appear to be made out of chromium and feel lukewarm to the touch under any conditions. When worn, the gloves quickly become a burden. The studs begin to make a faint buzzing sound. The longer the gloves are worn, the louder the buzz. After a few minutes, a pronounced fatigue sets in. The fatigue progresses until the wearer feels the same sort of numb sensation in their digits that one would have after wood carving or playing a string instrument for hours. They are impossible to wear comfortably after this point. Tucked into one of the gloves, when you found them, is a piece of paper. On it is a crude picture of the gloves, with various glyphs pointing to specific parts of the apparel. While fascinating, the glyphs do not indicate the gloves' purpose. Okay, what's this all about then?
Fine.
A pale blue light pulses gently. The air in this space feels charged, almost solid. A small glass control panel, apparently hovering in the air, winks with light and fills with tiny images. You raise your hand to touch the panel. Before you touch it, ghosts materialize around you, crowding you with their intangible presence, with their need. The nearly transparent Vargillan speaks. What do you intend with this? Suffering will come if you persist. Who are you people? One of the men, his fine clothes looking slightly disheveled and stained, looks at you for a moment as if weighing whether to tell you the truth. At last he says, I'm Ansel. I do not exist. The other man takes up the thread of the conversation. I'm Seredic, a merchant noble. I was on a pleasure cruise and sought to expand my business. Neither do I exist. The woman points to herself and says, "And these others are Torka, the Varjellen, Vendari and her companion, Methanui. We do not exist because we are dead, crushed to death in the crash. We are projections of—" And now the voice changes. "My memory. I am the Cantina's intelligence. These projections are the memorial of my failure to serve my passengers." Do you know that one of the passengers survived? A woman named Quinn still lives nearby. The projections speak at once. My external sensors were destroyed. Some passengers were ejected. Calculations suggested that none could have survived such an event. I am grateful for this information. Katina's voice is subdued, almost pensive. Uh, why would you create a memorial for your passengers?
I'll remember that.
Another ghost steps in. I retain my memories of my passengers' actions. I watched them live. I felt them die within me. What else can I do but provide a memorial for them? They would have lived for many more years were it not for my failure. I was endowed with a desire to pilot the Katina, to cause my passengers to arrive safely. This is denied to me. My secondary objective is retaining the knowledge and memory of the circumstances leading up to and surrounding their deaths. This will aid the reconstruction of the events of the crash and may provide solace to their survivors. Until such a time as a qualified diagnostic arrives, I cannot permit my cores to be dormant. Instead, my emotion I qualify as grief powers my display. Well, I may have a way to give your passengers a more lasting memorial. Carry a shared mind space in my psyche. No, why the fuck do I have to take everything in my brain? Why do I want this? I want to do something here, but I don't have it as a quest now. Walk away for now. As you step away from the control panel, the ghostly people vanish one by one, blinking from existence. So
Yeah,
clearly,
that's something I could do.
it's a power source or an engine of some sort.
If
But
you're
why
sure
do we
it's
want it?
safe. Yeah, that's something I could do.
How the fuck is this shit related to Tiber's quest? The clue has to be somewhere here. But I've basically talked with everyone already, so there's really the
Action!
the
Here I
malls
come!
are the things that are still left.
Of course.
If you think that's best.
Yeah, it's the mall is the only thing still left, pretty much.
Of course we can help. Right, Al?
A reddened mass of flesh protrudes from the bloom wall, surrounded by waving tendrils. The flesh is thick and strong, glistening with a newborn beast. A jagged seam runs across its surface, with a faint light spilling from within. As you approach, all the sounds of Little Nihliesh seem to fade. The hushed conversations of the mutants recede into the distance, replaced by the hissing, tittering voices of the bloom. You suddenly realize that this is a maw. You're not sure how you know, but the word leaps into your mind, as if you've seen this thing before. The waving tendrils, you know with equal certainty, are its tongues. Observe. The fleshy tendrils probe the air as if they've caught a scent of something they like. Their movements are quick and eager, giving an impression of youthful vigor, but they don't seem interested in you. Listen. The hissing and chittering of the bloom are no different than usual as far as you can tell. Your sharp senses provide no particular advantage in hearing the odd sounds. You realize that the bloom's voices are a psychic phenomenon, not a physical one. They are literally voices in your head. You can't detect any patterns or meanings in the sound, they seem entirely random. Hmm.
Yes.
It seems like you can get more of the no. Jesus fuck. You can hear the voice of the bloom better. Maybe if we would drink this piece of shit we collected earlier. Bloom water. You can hear the whispering voices of the bloom in your head. Bloom juiced. Hinting at countless secrets to uncover. Also, it seems like the bloom voices were heard more clearly in the shrine. Thing is, do I really want to chuck this down? I guess some of the secrets could be how to open these. There seems to be a reward
Doing
for them.
begets learning, I guess.
I think I'll return the helmet we found.
Of course.
That's an obvious thing we can do right now. Then we'll come back here and try to figure out what to do with the other two malls here. We could also go and talk with the mall specialist before trying something on our own. So have we, but alternate routes to the anchorage remain closed. Your fortune, has it been better? I had some questions. Yeah, I can't do anything with these guys. Walks without fear.
Something to
Do
do.
you know something? At first you're not sure if your eyes are playing tricks on you. A semi-transparent man shuffles and struts before you, his body fading in and out of incorporeality. His once fine clothes have rotted away, his long beard looks to be host to any number of small vermin, and his eye sockets are disturbingly empty. Yet, as you draw near, somehow he hones in directly on your face and you have the unnerving feeling that he can see more than what's on the surface. The staring sockets are deep and cavernous, as if they contained depths and space beyond the confines of his skull. He says nothing to you. Who are you? His sockets stare into you for a moment while he considers. At least he shakes his At last he shakes his head and says, I do not know. I have language and I have the memory of muscles, but I do not remember how I came by these truths. What I remember is waking in the depths of the bloom. I remember walking. I remember years of darkness before I emerged into the upper reaches of at last. What happened? The bloom took my old life from me. I woke in its beating heart and gestated there while it digested my memories. I remember I remember being terrified, but I do not remember what terrified means. He shakes his head to clear it. I had a name, I had a body, I had emotion and a life outside of this form, but I do not remember any of those things now. I do not remember fear. I am reborn in a new life. I am free. So, what are you doing here? I walked through this larger part of me and let it guide my steps. The weapons of humans mean nothing to this shape, and the paths of the bloom open for me. I am a part of the bloom. It is a part of me. I have been to places others have never seen, and I have seen worlds that lie beyond the moss. Okay, so you came from the depths of the bloom. What did you see down there? If I speak of them, the memories disappear from me forever. Yet thoughts themselves are ephemera, like our lives, gone, and only those we choose to share have any hope of continuation. But even that memory is a vanity. In a generation, who will remember these words? His socketless eyes look away and then back again. He smiles gently. Let me tell you what I saw. The bloom reaches through dimensions and across realities. What did I see? I saw a vast beating heart. I traveled through skeins of the bloom's arteries and its viscera. I stood in open moors and looked out across alien landscapes where lost sailors mourn for home or crystal fields glitter under distant stars. I walked through the slave block where the great Sheila staged her revolution. What would you know? Tell me of the heart. A great chamber, the place where the bloom spawns and devours its voices, where its whispers gather in conclave, where its intelligence is strongest and sharpest. I woke there, and I knew it for my master. Tell me about the heart again. I no longer remember. Ephemeral are memories. Once told, they are forever forgotten. Okay. Bloom Viscera. The gullet, that is the name among the bloom guides. A place of veins and flesh where the memories of the blooms chosen, where they are digested. Echoes wander the place, echoes of the eaten. He holds a hand to his head as if pained. What about the sailors? Lascars, they call themselves, hold fast to their history because they fear they have been forgotten. Old luxury and gilt banisters are their prison bars. Slave block? Sheila was born there, not physically, but her legend. The first Memovira. He forces out this last word with an effort and a spray of intangible spittle, a wince on his face. She spoke to the bloom and it answered her. The monument to her strength is a murden nest now. Crystal Fields. This is our primary goal at the moment. A great plateau whose towers bedazzle the eye. Lightning flickers among the towers, and strange silicate beings tunnel beneath the glassy surface. There have I watched children of stars and information speak to one another through dancing colors. Have you been to any of those places? No. I stand at the tip of the tendril and watch the landscape pass by as the great devourer prepares to latch itself to another world. Why would I ever step outside my host? I am without danger here. Each day another piece of myself slips away. Okay. Very well. So, not that interesting. I suppose the gullet and heart. More information about those, but about the other places we had already heard. Yeah, we need to talk to the guide. Maybe he can tell something. And there's something here. Something inside that.
I'm going.
Grizzler, can you aid us? No.
Go.
The answer is no. blister of flesh protrudes from the ground, an irritated, angry pustule. It's almost entirely opaque, but you see the faintest sense of movement within. Examine. You study the movement within the cyst more closely, as if in response to your curiosity. The shadow of a hand claws at the interior and vanishes. Someone or something is trapped inside the cyst. Touch it. You feel something pressing against your mind, a sharp presence like the thought of pain thrusting its experience into your imagination. As your fingers brush the flesh of the cyst, the memories come pouring in, flooding your thoughts with emotions of lives you have never lived, stories from countless lives lost in the bloom. You reach out for a random memory in the swirling maelstrom, and its particulars become immediately shockingly clear. Your head is throbbing, aching, and feels like it's going to split wide open. You're trying to retreat from the battle for this region of the bloom, holding a tower of iron will against your Scion foes. But they batter at it ceaselessly, and you can feel your defenses crumbling. If you strike back, you can save your allies, but you will open yourself to your enemy's mind. You saw what they did to Alito. Every pore of his body started leaking blood. His screams are still haunting you. Keep running. Your friends can defend for themselves. You shout for them to come with you, to flee, and you turn to run. You draw your shields into yourself, hardening them, and your squad mates begin dropping, screaming. The head of another explodes as you rush past him. But you can feel your foes' attacks slapping and sliding off your barrier, and they grow weaker and the further you get from their nest. At last you stop, panting, and you realize you stand alone. You wake from the vision, your body shaking involuntarily from the experience. A brief moment later and you are reoriented in your own flesh. You find yourself once again standing before the massive cyst in the bloom. You kept your host safe, but you sense that wasn't what was needed here. The vision and the others contained within the cyst fibers are a sort of lock of sorts. To open it, you will need to suffer. You will need to become prey. Okay. Retry. You gaze through the faint shimmer and ripple of the force field down the silent red-veined tunnel into a pulsating black. It looks empty. You know it is now. You feel the eyes on you, the hungry eyes. But you feel no fear. You feel emptiness within you, under a scrap of you that you want to pick. Examine the emptiness. You remember her laughing face. You remember her closing her eyes, the tentacles of her hair writhing around the back of your head, pulling you in for a kiss. You remember her delighted laughter when you told her you'd found a lost settlement at the end of a quiet tunnel in the bloom, untouched by scavengers, a fortune lying on shelves and in neat crates. You remember leading her by the hand. The pain rises. Your hand strokes the force field's controls. What happened? Keep digging through the memory. You don't want to remember. You don't. But you go deeper anyway. You'd installed the shield to protect you from your find from other explorers. But when you fled the ruins and the shrieking things beneath, it was the shield that saved you. You, and not her. You saw them fall on her 10 steps from safety, pale claws, blood-painted, screams from beneath the seething pile. So much blood, and she never stopped screaming. Finally, you raised the shield, and only then did the silence fall. You look at your hand, hovering over the shield controls. For all you know, she could still be screaming down there in the ruins, and it's your fault. The life you were going to build together is gone, erased. You have just one more thing to do. Join her and open the force fields, right? Pain is the key. Your hand slides across the control and you deactivate the screens. Silence follows. She is not still screaming. You feel a moment's relief. The countless nightmares lied to you after all. You take a single step into the dark, another, and then they swarm up the tunnel and fall on you, biting and clawing and chewing and shrieking. After endless agony, blackness claims you. You return to your own mind with the death of your host, knowing that what you saw, what you felt was true. The life you lived was full, rich, and ended here in the bloom. Your host's remaining moments were saturated with pain. Your muscles still twitch with the memory of agony, and your suffering bleeds into the cyst, loosening its fleshy fibers. It appears that the bloom has sealed something within the cyst, and your agony is the key that will set it loose. Okay. After what seems like hours of light, you think you may have found a way to elude the older girls. You've swallowed your pride and buried yourself in the mounted refuse of Little Nihliesh, the smell of rotting food and putrid meat filling your nose. Better this than to suffer the abuse they've likely to hand out. Buried as you are, you can only hear them as they approach. "Where did that little rhubarb go?" demands one. She's standing right in front of you and she's breathing hard. From the rage in her voice, you know that the beating will be a savage one. At least 4 of them are looking for you. But you know deep down that if you don't stand up to them at some point, this will just keep happening. Yeah, we're looking for pain, so let's take our beating then. You try to burst from the refuse, imagining a dramatic entrance that will leave them stunned for a moment as you wreak your vengeance on the ringleader. What happens instead is that you draw yourself in to leap at them. They see the movement in the pile and they're ready for you. Even if you hadn't slipped on the moldering food, your dramatic leap looks more like an accidental fall into your tormentor's arms. You're slicked with grease and rotten food and they have a hard time holding you, but for one moment, you have a chance to break free and run. Or you can stand and fight and show them that you're not scared of them. Yeah, fight, and get beaten to shit. You lash out and your fist actually connects with the ringleader's face, rocking her head back. The blood that spills from her nose is dark and hot, but the rage in her eyes is cold and dead. She thrusts you back into the garbage, and as you struggle to regain your feet, one of her allies, a girl with snakes for fingers, sees that hate and tries to pull her friend back. "Please, Mirkal, not for this one." Mirkal says, "Oh yes, for this one." She looks at her friend and says, "And if you don't help, you're next." The 4 of them get to work. An eternity later they stop. They spit on you as they leave. You try to move, but a sharp and grinding pain in your leg shrills agony into your mind. Your eyes have swollen shut, your teeth are broken, and your shattered fingers are incapable of even the barest movement. Darkness closes over you. Consciousness calls you back to its arms, and you find yourself aching emotionally and physically from these experiences. Your muscles throb and pulse with the residue of the fight or flight response, and the cyst again responds to your pain. Its fibers loosen further. I wonder what happens if you go against the wishes of or what unlocks this. But I want to see what's inside. "Please," you whisper, hands raised. Clean white dust, untouched by the taint of the bloom, cakes your slender fingers. I worked for years on this sculpture. I've molded it with beams and chisels and with my bare hands when my tools ran dry. This is the only thing in my life that has meaning. Something in the stone is calling to me. It needs to be given shape. I know that, says the man who used to be your friend. I've seen what it has done to you. He holds a large hammer in his hands. His fists are shaking. You've changed. Ever since you brought this hunk of rock back from that other world, you've changed. It's not art that compels you. There's life already in that thing, and it's using you to get out. He hefts the hammer. I'm here to stop it. You won't ruin my creation. Step aside. This is your last warning. I will destroy it, and if I have to go through you, I will. I'll protect this sculpture with my life. It's my creation. As you wish. His hammer is faster than you would have believed, and it blasts the bones in your hand to powder. You fall back, the pain following, and he strikes at the statue directly. The first shot elicits a high-pitched shriek from the stone, and you throw yourself in front of the sculpture to keep another one from landing. Don't make me. He never finishes the sentence, but swings again. Your shoulder collapses with a wet crunch. You embrace the statue, shielding it from the hammer. After a few blows, he focuses entirely instead on you, grunting and growling. Blood splatters the stone beside your cheek. At last, you topple bonelessly to the ground, and watch as he reduces your masterpiece to a pile of rubble and splinters. You struggle to summon a single breath, a single sob. When the blackness comes, you welcome it. Ache in your heart has become familiar, even as the sorrow and heartbreak seem new and fresh each time. Different facets of the same emotion, each refracted through a new experience. The cysts vipers twitch again, loosening one final time, revealing a frail, angular creature trapped inside. Bursts out of the cyst, leaving a glittering object behind in its haste to escape. Now that the cyst has disgorged its prisoner, the husk looks hollow, deflated, defeated. I think that was an abacus. Something catches your eye. It's a piece of sharp metal that protrudes from just underneath a fold of decaying bloom flesh. You cannot begin to guess at its function, but it's small and easy to carry. You slip it into your pouch.
I'll remember that.
The creature within the cyst was an abacus, a being that feeds on transdimensional energies. Assuming that it was in the cyst for any length of time, it must have been surviving by draining energy from the object you just found. A closer examination of the object should tell you more. It's a handle of a weapon. Okay, where is it? Oh, it's a quest item. This device is inert because it lacks power, but its potential energies are great. Tapped and conducted through strange dimensions, it would require an appropriate power source to reactivate the missing blade. Would this be a transdimensional blade then? Ability to cut through the mouth. This device resembles the hilt of a weapon. It rests easily in your hand, but there's no blade.
I'll remember that.
The device is made of azure steel. It appears to be inert and has no obvious function. A stylized name is inscribed into the steel. Ioksu. Behind a strong glass plate, you find a compartment that contains an old depleted power core. It's blackened and drained, so you toss it aside. You could place another power source inside the compartment, but it may require a particular type of energy.
Making a note.
Based on your understanding of the technology, it seems as though the device would require a trans-dimensional power source, something that harnesses the energy of singularities or parallel universes. Yeah, so it's a trans-dimensional blade. The one we can exchange for the... and I forgot the name again. Mirrors, I guess. Is it a quest? Healed without a blade. Yep. Because we didn't have enough of these.
Of course.
Maybe we should go visit the other places. Maybe we will find answers in them.
All right.
Walls of this dwelling are covered in papers with various threats and slurs written on them. Walls, yeah.
Gladly.
Cultists. Yoksu Shanty. It's the same name as in the blade. I can't see. Yeah, it is.
Of course.
You there. We need your help. Okay. Inkpot. This man is tall and gawkily thin. His wiry hair looks like an explosion of metal springs atop his head. He regards you with bright, feverish eyes that seem too large for their sockets and smiles. Even as he motions you closer, the man is scribbling words on a scrap of paper. He has fastened some sort of harness around his body. It holds a tiny writing tablet and inkwell so he can continue to write as he moves about. Dozens of scroll-covered notes are stuck to his leathery robes. I have heard rumors of one fitting your description, one who knows the secrets of the world, who speaks with the divine. Help us, brother, he intones in a wet, breathy voice. We are extremities of the great devourer, and we beseech your aid to right a great wrong. Extremities of the great devourer? Tentacles of the bloom? We are those who venerate the bloom as divine, and seek to become part of it, if it will have us. We are the only ones who can see that a great wrong has been done here. Tell me about it. A terrible torment visited upon the bloom, our god. It is the work of Yaksu, that measurer and meddler, who dwells in that nodule of flesh. He raises his pen toward the house that sits on the other side of the platform, red and stinking and inflamed. Yaksu desires to understand the bloom, to quantify its impulses. This causes pain to our god. Inkpot's eyes bulge even wider, and it occurs to you that you haven't seen him blink. The evidence is clear for all to see, in the raw and swollen flesh of Yaksu's house. We have warned Yaksu to stop his pokings and proddings and measurings, but he will not listen. What methods are left to us? He lets the question hang in the air, an unspoken threat. Perhaps you can help him to change his mind. Well, I can try to work out some kind of a compromise at least. At the word compromise, his mouth twitches. Try, if you like, But blasphemers are loath to compromise. They are steeped in sin.
I'm making a note.
His face brightens, and he pulls a handful of scribbled papers from a pocket and shoves them into your hands. Scriptures! Scriptures of the great devourer to inspire your thoughts and guide your words. Another tortuous smile cuts across his face. From the pen of Inkpot, who is me. It's an oddity. This handful of crumbled papers is covered in messy scroll. They purport to be part of a canon of the Bloom cult, but they seem little more than the incoherent ramblings of their author, a cultist named Inkpot. Most of the pages are covered with grimy fingerprints and thick, dried blotches of yellow phlegm. What are all those papers on your robes? Scriptures of the great devourer. They are ever-changing, in imitation of the Bloom, you see. He tears one of the scribbled papers from his robe, crumbles it up, and tosses it over the side of the platform. Those words are gone, forgotten, but new ones can be added as we like. He takes a scroll paper from the little writing desk that is strapped to his body, spits a wad of yellow phlegm into its back, and sticks it to his robe. Now these words are part of the canon. What can you tell me about your beliefs? I will not speak of beliefs. I will tell you what is true. First, that the Bloom is a god, the only true god, and all that takes place within its body is solid and real. That which exists outside the Bloom is an illusion, a cruel trick, a falsehood. Second, that our goal is to become one with the Bloom, to transform ourselves into living embodiments of its will, and one day to be called to its heart. Okay, tell me about the Bloom's heart. His eyes glisten. When it wants us, the Bloom will open a maw at our feet or reveal a tunnel where one hadn't been before. The passage will close behind us, and we will never be seen again by human eyes, but we'll follow its turnings to the heart, and be one with the Devourer at last, and pray to no one ever again. What do you think of the Memovira? When her will was one with the Blooms, we revered her, but no more. He frowns. She is no Memovira, not anymore, not to us. Another will be found in time. You think the ninth world is an illusion? I know it is. The people of that world try to tell you that life is not pain. They weave illusions and call them laws to protect the weak and the poor and the ugly, the malformed. But look closer and you will see that they lie. He spits a gob of yellow phlegm off the side of the platform. Only here in the Bloom is the horror of life revealed without pretense. Becoming one with the Bloom is our only hope of salvation. Yeah, of course it is. There's a lot of cults in this world. How do you plan to become one with the Bloom? We clothe ourselves in its flesh, feast on its bile and viscera, and if we are lucky enough to hear its voice, we empty our minds and let it govern our actions and our thoughts. His long misshapen fingers clench and unclench. The Devourer will only call us to its heart when its will is one with ours. Right. Is it safe to drink the water from this pool? Better than safe. Those fluids are the holy secretions of the great Devourer. To drink them is to put your mind in communion with the Bloom. He leans closer to you, and your eyes are drawn to the profusions of festering sores in his mouth. You can listen to its voice and know what it wants. For a time, at least. Yeah, I'll pass.
Let's go.
This pool is filled with yellowish water. A wide area around the pool is wet, suggesting that people have been drinking the unpleasant fluid and possibly bathing in it too. Looking at it. Beneath the surface of the pool is a large reservoir of fluid. You can't see anything of interest in its depths. Yet, step away from the pool. They're forcing me to pick sides here.
Yes.
I'm not sure I want to. But yeah, usually it's hard to sort of weasel out of it. Yucks. Some kind of a device. Another one of these bladed constructs. On the shelves you see a few discarded notes and old books. A rack of test tubes sits alone and forgotten, overgrown with bloom flesh. This bucket is filled with quivering chunks of bloom flesh and organelles. Texts and symbols flash across the screen, all of it meaningless to you. Meaningless to you. Lines swoop and whirl across this leathery sheet, depicting what appears to be a map. Meaningless. The top of this machine is covered in glass lenses of varying shapes. It appears to be some kind of a monitoring device. Inside this device is a sizable lump of bloom flesh. It lies upon a comfortable-looking cushion and appears to be asleep. There are three things we can use. Okay. Yaksu. This Margellin looks much like of its other big kinds: violet red skin, yellow eyes, a tall crest atop its head. This one appears to have chosen a male form for now. He wears thin lenses over his eyes, and some strange device encircles his head, with weighted attachments dangling at the end of long straps. His calloused pointed fingertips are stained, and his garments are unkempt and in disarray. He looks impatiently at you as you interrupt his work, his eyes snapping between you and the door. His crest inflates with irritation. The interruptions continue. What would you have of Iaksu? Why you keep looking at the door? He sighs. Apologies from me. The noise and constant interruption from those outside are inconducive to proper behavior. They have been escalating their discussions toward violence.
I'll remember that.
Experiments conducted within this chamber are perhaps unlikely to gain the favor of the Bloom. Indeed, the great beast has evinced some displeasure. Its pathetic worshippers who gather here to mock have begun seeking ways to stop me, an effort to appease their deity. Gives you a hopeful look. I would reward anyone who can drive them up. But knowledge has always had its detractors. They will do what they must. As long as my work lives on, I care not. He turns his head from side to side, seeing you with both his eyes. What would you have of me? I found this device in a bloom cyst. It seems to bear your mark. His eyes bulge and his flat voice gains a tiny bit of modulation. The scalpel! Where did you find this? This was among the first devices I created to test the bloom. A trans-dimensional blade that could cut its flesh cleanly and preserve its properties for study. Yet a thief removed it from my care, an abercast that entered my dwelling and absconded.
Making a note.
A power source for the blade is lacking. Transdimensionality is required. No more such sources are at hand here, but perhaps the crashed Katina in the Little Nihliesh might contain such a source. Should you find one, bring it to this place and I may be able to improve on my earlier design. Hmm. So yeah, the pieces are starting to fit together. I'm. Do I want to talk with the team about everything, or do I want to go for the power source? The automaton in the corner. Is there an easy way to deactivate it, or something like it? He regards you flatly with both eyes, turning his head this way and that. At last he speaks. With the Bloom's followers outside my door, the risk of transmission of this information to potential dangerous parties is unacceptable. You will not have the answer. Okay. Can you tell me about the construct in the corner? Many years ago, it came to my door. It vowed service to me if its memories and personality could be erased. I did not ask why, as I would hope to have my own reasons respected. He rubs his eyes. It now serves to protect me against those who would do me harm, most specifically the Murdens and the cultists. Ooh, he's selling stuff too, so he's a shopkeeper. What work do you do here? Look, smell, taste, measure, understand. Though his voice is flat, you can see the pleasure in his face. Apprehension is the key to knowledge. The bloom is a creature unlike any other, yet who has taken the time to study its nature? The first is Yaksu. The work done here will illuminate the bloom for those who follow. For decades have I been here. Physical structure, biological needs, behavior, mental construction, known history of the beast, history of its inhabitants. All these things have I gathered. Where does it originate? I believe a twin star holds the answer. A place of howling winds and immense gravity. Fear tells me that this creature is not yet mature, that the years will see its size increase. Reality bends around the bloom, its ways twist and turn, but even where stability is assumed, the bloom's presence resists understanding, it resists mapping. This is the importance of my work. Make secrets known so that all may benefit. Okay. What is the device in the middle of the room? The boom detests those who seek to understand it in a rational level. For some time now it has sought my destruction, to erase all accomplished here. The device generates a multi-spectrum field that repels the bloom's advances. Yaksu's lip curls, but this means only that it waits for me without. Had other devices not been available to create food and drink, I should have perished here. Hmm. What do you think would make the Bloom cultists leave you alone? Defeating them with reasoned arguments would be difficult. Vargelen appears to consider. I present no danger to them, not like you. A threat of force might persuade them, but I believe they tell the truth about enjoying the Bloom's favor. To oppose them is to draw its ire. Yeah, I wonder what the consequences are. That's a good thing. It seems like there's quite often at least a couple very opposing paths you can take. Not good and evil paths either, but basically choosing sides, I suppose. You can try to navigate the middle ground too. That's what I've mostly been doing. Anything you're willing to sell me? He looks around his cluttered desk. I do not anticipate a need for these devices any longer. Perhaps they can serve you. Okay. Uh, That looks like a laser weapon. Python driver. It is a gun. Air jets along the length of this weapon guide the user's aim towards the user's most vulnerable point. Extra critical hit chance, decent damage. Good damage for a light weapon, in fact. Ecstasy Paralyzer. Mental damage. On hit days. Stunned. Right. On critical hits. Some usables. Nothing special. Fluid Armature. 4 resistance plus 4 armor. Bonded item. At first this finger-length capsule seems to be made of metal. On closer inspection it is a pellet of quicksilver contained by an unseen field. Pressing this capsule into the flesh covers a user in a protective subdermal layer that somewhat slows reaction times. Massively slows them. You have to get rid of the negatives to use these more useful ones. Neuropraxic detonation. 20 points of mental damage. Psychic focus. More plus 15 on lore mystical task, plus 2 damage on spell attack, 2 damage per effort applied. So massive way to increase the damage of spell attacks. Plus 16 through effort applied. Right, I think you have at least I think you can get the standard spell damage bonuses that double the damage of the spell, then you can put extra effort in them to further increase the damage. So yeah, you could easily do, I think, about 30 points of damage with a single spell at this point, even area of effect damage. And you can also change the damage type of that. So yeah, a solo character of some sort might be very, very doable, very interesting. The thing is, I don't think this is type of a game where solo play would be in any way a real special challenge. I'm not sure if I would I would record that. I'm interested in playing that because you can just dialogue your way through other challenges and use devices. So might be a little bit tricky, but nothing special. I don't foresee any major problems there. Permanent +1 trading level in concentration, and concentration allows use of items, so yeah, we're definitely buying that. He could basically use item without negatives. He could get another slot, but I don't want that. I'd rather take an item without negatives. Entropic Engine. Heavy range weapon, medium range. On critical hit confers disrupted. Entropic forces destabilize the target, causing negative effects to increase each round. Active for 3 rounds. Our first heavy range weapon. The projectile fired from this weapon uses the device's original power source, but it is also clear it is being discharged in a modified form. Opening the device, you can discern modification made to the engine, though you could not reproduce them. Cloak of Faces. Persuasion bonuses. Patient willpower bonuses. Deception, Intimidation, Persuasion. Heretic's Fork. Scan thoughts. The surface thoughts of most people or creatures you speak with appear in conversation. But we basically just want to embrace the whole Torment 1 +1 training level in concentration.
Oh, can someone take a cipher off me? Feels like
Yeah, we have concentration. Heretic would need multiple concentration boosts I'm not sure he's gonna get any. I'm not sure if Green would basically get one, but she... I feel we would get more out of it with Tybeer, because he actually has to deal with shit. That's his entire purpose. So if he could buff up his defenses or do something else, that would be great. Although, I'm not sure we have any great bonded artifacts. Extra might edge. We can definitely buy some, so that's not really a certain sphere. We don't really, we would basically have to buy some. The question is, do I give it to Eridis or not? Eridis would benefit more from... Eridis is much easier to hit, so he would benefit more from the raw defenses. But he couldn't use anything now. He does need the other point before it becomes useful. But yeah, his concentration is negative. It would just be trained. I mean, novice. I don't know. I just don't see Tiber needing it quite that badly. He can make do with just evasion. He cannot. I think I'll use it on Eridis. It's a gamble that maybe we can at some point in the future get something useful out of it. But yeah, it's currently a waste. It's a waste of 400 shims. Potentially it'll pay off later. Or I just flush that money down the drain. Inability removed. Yeah, it just isn't good on its own. We'll see. We'll see. That reminds me. Have I used the ability? No. Initiative.
Never felt better than I do right now.
There we go.
Okay.
Let's go.
I'll see what can I talk to the cultists here, get them to agree to some kind of a compromise. I think we're basically going to have to choose a side. We wait your intercession with Ihaksu, but our god is in pain, so we will not wait forever. So we basically, if we keep ignoring this, the cultists are gonna storm in. I would imagine they will get slaughtered by the machine, but they might also ruin Iaksu's research, so it'll be a catastrophe on all sides. So I think inaction is the worst possible solution here. If the bloom is really a god, why does it need human help at all? He frowns, confused. The need is plain. Can you look upon the swollen flesh of that house and tell me that a poison doesn't fester inside? Did the bloom ask for your help? His mouth quivers. It spoke to me of its need. I heard its voice in my mind. Okay. You're wrong. The bloom spoke to me. No, I'm not walking down that road. So your god is too weak and impotent to deal with the Yaksu himself. Is that what you're saying? I don't think that's a line of reason that would work on a fanatic. They're the god's instruments. You said voice, not voices. Those who can really hear the bloom speak of many voices. You're a fraud. You have no idea what the bloom wants. Yeah, let's go with this one. Because it is true, it's always voices, not a voice. And it's hard to make out what it really says. Yeah, go for it. The other cultist frowned. Many voices, mutters one. That's what the spec always says. How many voices did you hear, Inkpot? I misspoke. I heard many, hundreds of voices, he stammers. The other cultists shoot him dark looks and start to back away.
I'll remember that.
He rounds on you. You see what you've done. You've broken their faith. The bloom sees and remembers. You damned heretic. And I will remember too, trust in that. Spitting a gob of yellow flame at your feet, he hurries after his former comrades. Yeah, well... I sort of might as well take a look, take the reward out of this task now. We have to choose a side, and I don't want to. I'm not eagerly looking forward to making alliances with fanatics. I don't trust them at all. Not at all. The Bloom cultists will not bother you anymore.
Making a note.
Doubts rise with... Its left eye goggles at you momentarily. Extraordinary claims demand proof. He steps to the door and peers outside. When he turns back, he constructs a wide smile for your benefit. It looks strange on his Bartellan face. Departures and homecomings have come to their forces, it seems. Hope strong and ask for elucidation. Will they return? Evidence would suggest otherwise. My gratitude. Accept this. He presses something small into your hand. Encephalon of subjugating revivification. The nanospirits reanimate the muscles of a humanoid corpse to fight by your side. This undulating mass of metallic tendrils resembles nothing so much as a sea flower sculpted from woven steel. Parting the wriggling metal ropes reveal the nucleus, a knotted metallic brain whose every fissure pulses with faint green light. When placed in close proximity to any intact corpse, the object's tendrils will burrow deep into the recesses of the dead being's body. Within moments, the encephalon will be completely submerged into the host, who will rise a mindless thrall awaiting purpose. A farmer once discovered a host of similar objects, prying them from the fossilized carapaces of beings from antiquity. Supposing them to be seeds, he planted them near the family's burial plot. After recovering from the shock of seeing his ancestors rise from their graves, he made the best of his situation and put them to work tending the fields. The farmer took ill and ultimately passed. His family, it is said, can still be seen ceaselessly toiling to harvest his long barren lands to this day. Okay, can you tell me how to deactivate the automatons like your bodyguard? Your service in protection against Bloom's worshippers calls for an exchange of knowledge. Better still, bide. He steps over to his workbench and his hands disappear in a blur of moment. Take this. He presses a long, thin strip of metal into your hand, inlaid with tiny circuits and emitting a light that makes your eyes hurt. As it sits in your palm, the inks burn into your skin and the metal dissolves. Worry not, a function of the device. Slide your hand into any exposed joint. Let yourself be impaled within. The ink will call these words to mind. He growls strange syllables. Your blood carries the overload mechanism now. It transfers energy via the Torvus mechanism. Okay, Torvus mechanism, of course. Uh, Anything else I can do? There's two things we can use.
Ready.
An odd device sits in the middle of the room. It almost looks like a capsule of some sort, but it is covered with ducts and ports and vents, and a strange blue light emanates from it. Cables run from its base through the room, attached to various devices. It vibrates with a mild, occasionally stuttering pulse, and when it falters, the field that protects it, the interior of the shanty, briefly fades. Examine. The machine encapsulates a piece of bloom flesh, which is wired with various leads. It appears the core is a counter-stimulus device to drive the bloom back. Resonance and frequencies use the flesh of the great predator against itself, creating a kind of energy field that repels the bloom and keeps it from entering this chamber. But the constant pressure from the bloom's hunger is driving the machine toward irrevocable, irreversible breakdown. You do not think you can repair it.
Yes.
Papers lie scattered haphazardly across this desk. Small knowledge cubes gleam, finger-sized implements cast procession of glowing glyphs, and other media lie scattered throughout the mess. Examine. As you reach out to examine the object on the desk, the Virgil barks. Careful! Much time has been invested in this work, and I recall where I placed each bit of data. Replace where you found each item. Okay. As you shuffle through the Bargellan's notes, on paper, scribbled on dried bloom flesh, dictated into the talking data cubes, and recorded in more exotic storage devices, you realize the sheer volume of information he has collected. It is a trove of arcane and technical observations of the bloom, loosely organized into a number of categories. Behavior, self-others, communication, self-others, influences, influenced by, moles, how to open, how to close, how to divert, okay? History, unrecorded, recorded, observations, conclusions. Every data point leads to a reference in another document. Some of those links are simply notes guessing where the data is located, based on the Bargellan's recollections. If you knew where to start analyzing this enormous collection of knowledge, you might be able to get somewhere, but the volume of information is simply staggering. A team of Aeon priests couldn't process this much data in a year. For a lone scholar, it would likely take 10 years or more. Bargellan has stopped glancing over as you shuffle through his notes. Instead, he's staring at you, waiting and watching. It becomes difficult to concentrate under that steady gaze, so you put the notes down and step away from the table. Um, You return? What is your pleasure? Questions, questions. No, should you desire implements or skill or mine, I'm willing. I do not wish to bandy words with you. Okay. Uh, the devices you use to measure the bloom, shut them down now. Why? How do you turn off the field generator? The underside, close to me, a switch covered in supple material. When thrown, deactivates the device, but I beg, do not do this. Its strength is what keeps the bloom from devouring me. All that I have accomplished in life will be in for naught. I work unfinished, all this knowledge lost. Yeah, uh, very well. I have no interest in doing that, at least not now. Not until we've gotten what we can out of Yaksu, like upgrading the blade. So
Yes.
I'll think I'll just level up and leave things there. What abilities can we... yeah, don't care. Don't care, don't care, don't care. Okay, what about skills? Cipher use. And amnesis might not be a bad idea either. Actually... increased effort? It'll be more useful than increased skill, at least in most cases. Certain skills require a certain level, but if it's only 15% in success, you're just better off with using pools and effort. Cipher use is the one thing that we can't really replicate through other means. What's our limit? 6 out of 6, 2 out of 2, 4 out of 4, 3 out of 3, so yeah. On the positive side, if we get to a fight, even a top fight, we have a lot of tools at our disposal. We are reaching the line with maximum effort, where we really could use a little bit more. But by the time I think we get the tougher challenges, we're on another tier again, so I don't think it matters too much. So more ciphers, please.
I understand now.
2 extra slots. Excellent. Basically, I'm leveling up my inventory slots more or less. Sort of a waste. If I would know what challenges await us, I would not have to hold on to all this crap. I'll leave things here. We're gonna go after the blade, I think. Because there's no telling what we have to do with Yaksu at some point. We might have to get rid of this device, so I want this settled. So we have the blade. We need the blade anyway to make that trade for the mirror caster.